Hey guys, today we're in 1 Kings chapter 21. So now that Ahab is okay, he is no longer being threatened by Syria, we pick up on another story. And it really just shows you how evil Ahab and his wife Jezebel truly is in this story. We see that next to the palace, there was this man, Naboth, and he had a field. And I'm sure he was already planting this field, but King Ahab wanted this field to become a vegetable garden for him and for the palace. And so he goes to Naboth and he says, hey, I want your field. I'll pay you for it. I'll give you a better field somewhere else, but this one's next to the palace. I want the field. And Naboth says, absolutely not. He actually says in verse 3, the Lord forbid that I should give you the inheritance of my fathers. And so he says, absolutely not. And when you read this, you might think to yourself, well, why wouldn't he give him the field? I mean, it's next to the palace. He's the king. Why wouldn't Naboth just give him the field? But the answer lies in his response to King Ahab. Notice what he says again, the Lord forbid that I should give you the inheritance of my fathers. Remember, we're still in Israel. Even though Ahab is king and he's a terrible king and an ungodly king, the people are still Israelites. They're still Jewish people. They still remember the past. And so here, this man, who is probably a very God-honoring man, he says, no, I can't give you this land because this land was my father's, and this land was his father's, and this land was his father's, and eventually this land was given by Joshua to my great-great-great-grandfather, right? Remember when they came to the promised land, they divided up the promised land, and Joshua and the high priest was a part of that. And so this land was given to them. It was not to be sold, was not to be given away. It was to be a part of their inheritance of the promise that God gave them, that this is their land and they will forever have a home. So when King Ahab says, hey, I want that field, he's not just asking for a field, he's asking for the ultimate inheritance that God gave them, that this is their promised land. This will be their land forever. So it's not just a simple asking of a field, it's asking for the promise of God. And here, this man, Naboth, stands up for God and says, absolutely not. King Ahab goes home like a big baby. Right? It's hard not to even kind of have that opinion when you read this. And it says he went home vexed and sullen, and he got in bed with his wife, and he turned his face away, and he wouldn't eat, and he's sulking so much that his wife Jezebel has to say, baby, what's the matter? What's going on? And he says, Naboth won't give me the field and I'm the king. And she said, are you the governor or are you the king? Who's the top dog here? Jezebel says, verse 7, she says, I'll show you that you're top dog. I'll give you the field. Well, it's not her field, right? She's showing us that she's the top dog. She truly is the king of Israel, right? They couldn't have a woman be a king. So she's the one that runs everything. She says, baby, you don't worry about it. Mama will get you that field. And that's exactly what she does. She gets some things together. She wrote letters, but notice it says in Ahab's name and sealed them with his seal. There's no way this could have happened without Ahab knowing it. He wore the seal on his hand. Nothing would have happened without Ahab knowing it. And so it's not just Jezebel doing it. Ahab is a part of it. And so she conspires this plan, and she gets this plan together and says, hey, here we go. We're going to throw a party. And in this party, we're going to take Naboth and we're going to put him at the head of the table, right? We're going to put him with all of the rich people, all the officials, all of the good people. But then at the opposite end of the table, all the way at the other end of the table, we're going to put two criminals, two common people, two men who will do whatever we tell them to do if we pay them a little money. And they're going to happen to say that man Naboth cursed Yahweh and he cursed King Ahab. And what happens is exactly what happens. They have a party, they do this, but all of the rich people at the end with Naboth, these are all the friends of King Ahab. These are all the rich people. These are all the officials. These are all the elites. These are all the people who rub elbows with Jezebel and King Ahab. And so what do? They do what they should do. Off with his head, right? They're going out to kill him because he blasphemed God, right? Which is scriptural law, and they blaspheme the king, right? And they're friends with the king. So double whammy to make sure that he gets killed. And they take them outside of the city, because you can't kill people inside of city gates. That breaks the Torah, breaks the law. They take them outside of the city and they stone him. And they kill him. And notice what it says, verse 16, as soon as Ahab heard that Naboth was dead, Ahab rose and he went down to the field. Like a new kid who got a toy on Christmas morning, he had to go play with it. This just shows you the evil of King Ahab. He could care less about anything. He just wanted what he wanted. And Jezebel did exactly that, got him what he wanted, and that happened. But as he is in the field, God, of course, knows everything that's happening. He sends Elijah to the field. Notice verse 18. Verse 18, he tells Elijah, arise and go to meet King Ahab. This is the same man that Elijah has run from multiple times, right? You got to imagine the fear that is in Elijah's heart. But he does so, and he goes to the field. And God tells Elijah to tell King Ahab, it says, in the place where the dogs licked up the blood of Naboth, shall the dogs lick up your own blood. This is a prophetical statement. We're going to see it true in the next chapter in verse 38. Basically, God says, where you killed Naboth, you will be killed. And the dogs will eat of your body. They will lick up your blood. Nobody will be there to save you. And it just shows you the power that God has, right? And the prophetical statement is there. But he goes on, and notice what it says. God says, I will bring disaster. I will utterly burn you up. I will cut you off from every male. You will not have another son who will become king. God is not just going to kill him. He is going to destroy him and destroy the future of his kingship. And then we see in verse 23, he has a little side note that God is even going to punish Jezebel. The dogs shall eat Jezebel within the walls of Jezreel, which is the place in which they're living. And so God is going to get justice. And when Ahab heard this, what happens? He shows repentance. He tore his clothes. He put on sackcloth. He laid and he slept and fasted in sackcloth. And because of this, the Lord shows him some grace. Notice it says, because, verse 29, because King Ahab humbled himself before me, I will not bring disaster in his days, but in his son's days I will bring disaster upon his house. And so God shows a little bit of grace and mercy. Doesn't mean he's not going to do the things that he said he's going to do, but he's going to show him a little bit of grace and mercy. And we'll see in the next chapter exactly how he does this. So it just shows us in a very bleak picture that no matter how bad you are, if you truly humble yourself and show repentance, God will forgive. He has forgiven people who were worse than us, but God will forgive. God has a heart of love and of grace and of mercy, but it's up to us if we will humble ourselves before the Lord. Hope that makes a little bit more sense, and we will see you tomorrow in the last chapter of 1 Kings chapter 22. God bless.